Welcome back. In this lecture, we are going to see identity column in SQL Server. What is identity column? Identity column is a special type of column. What it does is it automatically generates key values. So when I say key values, it is just auto incrementing a number, for example. And we have to provide a starting point that is called seed and the increment. What is seed? Seed is the value of the first row that is getting loaded inside the table. For example, you are inserting a new row. The first row you are getting inserted into a table, you need to give a value to it that is called seed. Seed usually starts with 1. You can choose any value for the seed. What is increment? Increment is an incremental value added to the previous row. For example, I inserted a first row 1. The second row has to be incremented based on the first row value plus 2. And 2 is saying that is the incremental value. So the second row, the value will be 3. You can have an incremental value, any numbers. So for identity, you have to give the seed and increment. Let's jump into the demo straight away. In the demo section, I'm going to show 3 examples how to use identity values in a column. First, let me create a table person. I'm going to give the column person ID as an identity column. I'm going to give the seed value as 1 and the increment value as 2, and I'm keeping it as a primary key. I have a first name, last name, gender also being created for this table. Let me create this table first. Now I'm going to insert the first row inside the table, and the first row identity value could be 1 because the seed value is 1. If you see in the insert statement, I haven't used this person ID column at all. We expect that person ID should be auto incremented. First name, last name, gender values I have given, and I'm going to execute this query. The person ID value output as 1 as expected. How do I get the output? I used a command output inserted dot person ID to output the person ID value. Let me insert the second row. The second row output value is 3 as expected because your increment is 2 and the previous row value is 1. So 1 plus 2 equal to 3. That's how you can set up an identity column and use the identity column inside the SQL Server. Now for the second example, we want to do a manual insert for the identity column. The reason is suppose you have inserted 100 rows and suddenly there is one row was missing. You want to do manual insert and you also want to give an identity value for that, or accidentally you deleted a row and you want to insert it manually. You want to make sure the identity value you already know it. You want to input it manually. Is it possible to input values manual input? Is it possible to manually input the values for an identity column? Yes, it is. How to do that? We have to set up a command. What is the command which enables us to do the manual insert inside our identity column? The command is you have to set it identity insert. So you are enabling the identity insert for a table person. I am setting it as on. So I'm saying it to the SQL Server is, yeah, I want to insert manually for the identity column. That's why this command is used. Now I'm inserting into the person table. In the person table, you see that I'm giving the person ID now in the column list. I'm giving the value as 4. Let me run this query. You could see that now I'm able to insert the value manually for the person ID. Is it possible to go back auto increment without setting the identity insert off? Let's test it out first. Now I'm going back to run the insert query where I didn't give this person ID column. I expect SQL Server to auto increment it. Let me run this query. I'm getting an error. The reason is now I have enabled for the table. I am going to give manually the identity column. Now I have to switch it off before enabling the SQL Server to auto increment it. Let me switch it off. So you have to off it. Set identity insert the table name and off it so that you're saying to the SQL Server now you can do the auto increment. I set it off. Now I'm going to insert this. Now you could see that the value came as 6. The previous value plus the increment value. The previous value we insert manually is 4 and the increment value is 2. So now we are getting the value as 6. Now can I insert manually again? Let's try it out. You cannot do it. The reason is you have to set the identity insert on again. So we have seen this example how to manually insert for an identity column. In the third example, we are going to see how do we reset the column value for an identity column. What do you mean by reset? Reset means resetting the value. You can reset to any value for an identity column. For example, you have inserted 2 rows for the current identity column. The value will be 3 because the seed value is 1 and the increment is 2. Now if you reset the value to 1000, the next inserted value is 1002 rather than 5. Now how do you reset the identity column value? By using the command dbcc check ident. So this is the command to reset the identity column value. I give the table name. I'm going to say reset and what is the value to reset? The reset could be any number you can put it. For our demo example, so let's delete from the table persons. Now, whatever new rows I'm going to insert, I want the value to start with 1. So what is my reset value right now? The reset value should be -1 because my increment value is 2. So -1 plus 2 equal to 1. So I have to give the -1 to start my current value as 1. So let me run this command. Now I have resetted the value. Now I am going to insert into the table. You could see that the current value is 1. Now I'm going to reset the value to 1000. Now what will happen? The next row, whatever we insert, will contain 1000 plus the increment value, which will be 1002. Let's test it out. Yes, I'm getting the value as 1002. This is how you can able to reset the identity column value whenever you want it.